Hi, this is Felix, and today we're going to talk about oxymoron and paradox, how to use them, and the difference between the both of them. Oxymoron. An oxymoron is two self-contradicting words that appear next to one another and happen to make sense in your sentence. It's usually used for comedic or dramatic effect. Example of an oxymoron. His new girlfriend was pretty ugly. As you can see, pretty and ugly are two completely opposite words, but when they are put beside each other in a sentence, they make sense. Other examples are stop being a big baby. The joke was seriously funny. I couldn't stop laughing. What is this? Another fine mess you've got yourself into. All these three oxymoron are, again, two opposite words, but together they make sense. Tricks and utility of oxymoron use. It's mostly used in every type of text like speech, book, CRA, etc. But the most common way an oxymoron is put in is in poem. Tricks. You can recognize an oxymoron by looking for sentence where two words are used together that logically should not make sense together, like fine mess. They wouldn't make sense, like they are completely opposite, but together they happen to make sense. Paradox. A paradox is a self-contradicting statement that logically doesn't have much sense, pointing out the truth without making sense. Mostly like an oxymoron, but sentence and not word. Example of a paradox. The only rule of the game is there is no rule. The first statement is the only rule of the game, and the second one is there is no rule. So these are two statements that are denying each other, but they make sense together. You can easily just say there are no rule in this game, but this is way less interesting for the reader. Other examples of paradox are the second sentence is false, the first sentence is true, and this is the beginning of the end. Another great example of a paradox is I found in Romeo and Juliet is the greatest thing that can come from hate is love. Tricks and utility of paradox. Use. The purpose of a paradox is to interest attention and to provoke fresh thought. The most common use of it is in movie, but it can be used in all type of text. An example of paradox is in Fight Club when he says the only rule of the game is there are no rules, just like I said before. Tricks. Pretty much the same tricks as oxymoron, but they don't really make sense together because they only deny each other. They not the difference between the both of them. Although a paradox and an oxymoron involve contradiction, they have an important difference. A paradox is a self-contradicting statement that can actually be true, while an oxymoron is a figure of speech that pairs two opposing words that make sense put together. Personally, I found oxymoron way more easier to write and to make sense, and paradox are way more interesting and add a lot to a text. Thanks for listening.